Today on the Morning Edition, thousands of students, hundreds of jobs, and beloved programs on the line. How Anchorage School District budget cuts could change classrooms and what comes next. Plus,
we're cutting down the size of government. We have to. We're bloated. We're sloppy.
President Trump presses for deeper cuts as he continues a massive government overhaul. Details on a new executive order on government spending and impending layoffs.
And later, meet the artist using litter to create some stunning masterpieces and how she's making waves in more ways than one as the Morning Edition starts now. Good morning, everyone, on this Thursday. So cool. I wish I could paint like that.
I know, and I love that kind of art that keeps things out of the landfill and off the streets and in our waterways.
Yeah, and it's so impressive.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. I'm not I'm not talented in that way. I have talents.
Right.
That is not one of them.
Same.
So I just have to admire when everybody else does it. So good on you. I hope everybody's having a good morning. I know it's early, but we're starting the day on the warm side and going to get even warmer. Everybody, Fairbanks, we're talking a lot about the interior heat today. So 30 degrees out at Stevens International Airport right now. Really some light winds, nothing big to speak of. We do expect to see a little bit of the warm-up winds pick up later on today. 12 degrees in the interior right now around Fairbanks. So across the Anchorage area, we're at 30 at the airport, 32 here at the station. In fact, we're near freezing at a lot of locations. Merrillfield, Jay-Bear, Muldoon, over in Ship Creek, you're at 29. The Campbell Creek Science Center at 28 degrees. So this is where we start that change in the weather pattern that we've been expecting, where we've had these systems that have been going into the southeast area and then kind of backing into south central. That's going to change. We're going back to a more typical pattern where they move up from the south and the west and slide across the Aleutian Islands, Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak. You'll feel the impact, and we are likely to see some rain. Now, we're not quite done with that one storm in southeast, and we're looking for the front to swing through later today. So still, winter storm warning. These are for those higher elevations. We're talking near the Haines Customs area. We're also talking about areas that possibly where you might be traveling the Klondike Highway. So just be extra cautious looking at some heavy snow there. Yakutat rain. We're looking at clear skies, though, into the interior. And Fairbanks, McGrath, you're cold. You're at 11 below, 8 below in Kotzebue, minus 35 in Deadhorse. So that is definitely cold. Around South Central, we're actually on the mild side. Mid-30s already in Valdez, Cordova. You've got 41 degrees, 14 in Eureka, 29, though, in Palmer, and we're in the teens in the valley. Going ahead and take a look at our forecast around the Anchorage area. All you see are upper 30s.
Every single year, we've had to get used to the idea of something important to us being cut.
We're hearing how budget cuts at the Anchorage School District will impact students, families, and educators. Cuts to language immersion and Ignite programs for elementary students, all middle school sports and high school hockey, gymnastics, swim, and dive are all on the chopping block, impacting thousands of students.
And with hundreds of staff positions slated for elimination, class sizes are expected to grow. The district's budget shortfall tops $100 million, forcing tough decisions about the future of Anchorage schools.
In trying to choose these cuts, you try to figure out what will do the least damage to the smallest number of students. At some point, we have skinnied the program down to where there's not anything you can do other than erase it.
The school board is willing to review the cuts if the state legislature significantly increases education funding. House Bill 69 is on the table this session, and if approved, would raise the public school-based student allocation. But the governor has indicated he would not support that bill.
In the meantime, as the district moves forward with those deep budget cuts, many are left wondering what programs and jobs will survive. Joe Allgood has details on how the community is reacting.
After the Anchorage School District passed sweeping cuts for next year's budget, students, staff, and parents are wrestling with the fact that some of their own jobs, activities, or programs might be cut.
I'm really sad about it. I've done Ignite since second grade, and every year I've just been like, this is so fun. Can we do more? Can we do more?
Adina is one of the students in the Ignite Gifted Learners program, which would be cut under next year's budget.
She's so excited to go to school on the days with Ignite, and it's a little bit harder to get her out the door on days when they don't have it.
She says the program helps stretch her creativity.
my brain might grow out of that way of thinking, and I feel like it just sort of brightens everybody's day.
Both she and her mom hope an increase in state funding might bring Ignite back.
But at this point, our school system is hurting so badly that literally anything will help.
There's not enough money to use, to pay the teachers. Or maybe there is, but they're just deciding not to use it in that way.
On the other side of the classroom, teachers are facing a similar reality. In their case, they might lose their jobs.
For years, educators have felt extremely overwhelmed.
The Anchorage Education Association says they've had an outpouring of concern from the over 3,000 members that they represent.
They're calling us every day. We are tracking all the resignations and supporting teachers as they go through that process. And then we're also supporting teachers with any questions they may have if they are actually moved between schools.
AEA President Corey Ace says an amendment to next year's budget is a bold approach and might provide hope that mass layoffs won't be necessary.
I think the amendment puts the pressure back where it needs to be on the legislature and the governor to fund education. We all want our students to be the highest achievers possible, and in our current situation in Anchorage and around the state of Alaska, that is not the situation.
Parents alike are hoping for a change.
In a state that loses people every year, we've got brain drain like crazy. I don't understand how we can have our leaders sit back and say that this isn't important.
And for students like Adina, she just hopes the familiar faces of the teachers at her school stick around.
Everybody knows each other. We pass people in the hallway and we're just like, hi, I know you.
Joe Allgood, Alaska's news source.
The University of Alaska Fairbanks is removing references to affirmative action, diversity, equity, and inclusion from its communications, a decision Chancellor Dan White says was driven by a need to comply with a Trump administration executive order.
There's a lot of uncertainty.
Questions remain about programs like the College of Indigenous Studies and the Nanook Diversity and Action Center. White assures that these programs will continue operating with no plans for changes.
It's a confusing time. It's ever more important for us to be a place of belonging, and it's our actions with students, with faculty and staff that enable them to feel that. So we want to continue, we will continue to do that.
The Board of Regents reaffirmed their dedication to being an inclusive, non-discriminatory institution and to offering equal opportunities for everyone. White says the university system is engaging with Alaska's congressional delegation to address the challenges ahead.
A review of a deadly officer-involved shooting back on Christmas Day has been completed, with body camera footage expected to be released later today. The Office of Special Prosecutions says that Juneau police officer Jonah Hennings Booth was justified in using deadly force against Ashley Ray Johnston. She was the woman killed after police say she was yelling at people while holding a hammer with a hatchet blade outside of a convenience store. Officers say she even threatened a private security guard. When Officer Hennings Booth arrived, she refused to follow orders. He then fired 2 shots, killing the woman.
In Capitol coverage, the state Senate passed a bill to build a new dock and terminal in Seward. House Bill 65 passed 18-0. It secured $135 million in bonds for the Alaska Railroad Corporation to finance the project. The current dock and terminal was built in 1966. The Alaska Railroad says the new one will be able to accommodate larger cruise ships and will feature a 68,000 square foot cruise terminal with indoor space for tourists.
In over 50 years of use, the dock's pile foundation has experienced significant corrosion that has resulted in weight restrictions that are currently in place. And while with these weight restrictions, the dock remains safe to use, it's a good sign that the dock is nearing the end of its useful lifetime.
The new dock is slated to open in spring of 2026 and is expected to operate for at least 50 years. The bill is heading to the governor's desk.
The Trump administration unveiled a plan to combat the skyrocketing cost of eggs. The proposal looks at boosting egg imports to help crack surging prices due to bird flu. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is putting more than $1 billion toward fighting bird flu, providing relief for affected farmers, and developing a bird flu vaccine. According to Consumer Price Index data, egg prices jumped more than 50% in January compared to the year before. Tropicana could be headed for bankruptcy. The iconic company, best known for its orange juice, is facing challenges on multiple fronts as the citrus industry falters. Tropicana Brands Group has seen sales and profits go downhill in recent years. Higher prices, competition, and shifting consumer trends have hammered the brand. The Agriculture Department expects this year's orange production to be the lowest in 88 years, following recent hurricanes in Florida. After the break, election season is approaching and the countdown is on.
Next, a look inside Anchorage's election center, how ballots are processed, and what officials say about securing your vote. And later.
Weight loss drugs are gaining popularity for heart health. I'm Bradley Blackburn with how cardiologists and patients are using them.
And taking a look at our daylight hours for areas across the state. Here in Anchorage, we are going to have 10 hours and 16 minutes of daylight with our sunrise at 8:04, sunset at 6:20 tonight, sunset in the interior around Fairbanks at 6:02. I'll have your full forecast when we come back.
Welcome back on your Thursday. Today is International Polar Bear Day. There's no better way to celebrate than, of course, with Alaska's own furry locals. So we've got these two, Kova and Cranberry, call the Alaska Zoo their home. And today, well, you can learn more about them. For instance, did you know they can smell a seal from a mile away?
I did not know that. Or did you know polar bears have black skin under all that white fur to absorb heat? You can delve into all the details about these massive marine mammals today at the Anchorage Zoo with the zoo's education director at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., and 2 p.m., or you can live stream the talks live.
And something else you may not know, these bears can swim for days without stopping, which is why they love to roam out on the sea ice along Alaska's Arctic coast, especially areas like the Beaufort and Chukchi Sea. They are just amazing creatures. A little scary.
Polar bears at the zoo.
Yeah, you got to be careful. But the little dive in to the water, the one at the zoo.
I don't know if I would even call that a dive. It was more like a just belly flop straight forward into the water.
It was, but it was a cute belly flop.
So cute.
He did a good job.
Yeah.
Or her. I actually don't know which bear that was. So, oh, that was Kova. Yeah, I'm being told in my ears. So, Kova, good job. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got going on across the state. Yesterday, we had those crazy winds down in southeast. Today, still slightly elevated, but not as bad. We've got winds right now, seeing some gusts to 25 miles per hour around Sitka and 37 in the Yakutat area, actually 23 miles per hour in Wasilla. We are likely to see some elevated winds around the higher elevations here in the Anchorage area by this afternoon. Couple advisories that we want to talk about. We do still have this winter weather advisory in Northwest Alaska. This is mainly dealing with snow and blowing snow. Not a lot of new snow coming in, but winds picking up the snow that's there and blowing it around and down into southeast. We've got that winter storm warning at the higher elevations and also a flood advisory. We did get reports of some flooding yesterday. We've got a river that is at the minor flood stage. So that's going on down around the Ketchikan area. So still a lot going on. This is what our jet stream looks like. It's still pretty far down to the south, sliding over southeast Alaska, but it makes a shift over the next couple of days and kind of points a little more north and slides just a little bit, not very far, a little bit to the west. But you can see these little ridges that just kind of pop out. This is going to free up a little space, and we're going to see a change in the weather pretty much across the state. And you can see why. So if you look at these areas in blue, we're looking, those are the cold areas. Those are the areas that are below freezing. Now, this is about a quarter of the way up in the atmosphere is what we're looking at. And this is all warmth, all of this yellow and orange. And over the next few days, we just watch this slide all the way up the state. Even into the interior, we're getting those darker oranges. So we are expecting to see some very warm temperatures above that freezing mark into the interior as we head into the weekend. This is what it looks like over the next couple of days. We're still going to see those mostly clear skies for another day or so into the interior and northern parts of the state. But we've got this new system sliding into the Gulf of Alaska. That's bringing rain and snow to the North Gulf Coast, and then it's going to bring more rain down into southeast. Now, this could bring a few showers in the Anchorage area, and it really depends on timing whether those would turn out to be rain or snow. Haven't seen them come through yet, but there is a possibility that we could see a few showers with that system coming through. Now we've got another one right behind it that is going to follow that traditional path through southwest, and that one also has a chance over the weekend to bring a few showers into the area. So rainfall today, again, nothing what we saw yesterday, but we've seen still already 1/4 inch of rain in the Yakutat area. For today, though, once that rain picks up, it does start to move in. About 1/4 inch of rain for the Anchorage, for the Juneau area, almost 3/10 inch for Yakutat still. And then it just builds as that system moves in later tonight. So another over 1.5 inches of rain by Saturday morning for the southeast. So today it's rain again, slightly elevated winds in southeast Alaska. Into the interior, mostly sunny skies, temperatures on the mild side. Check it out, Fairbanks 22, 28 around Healy and Delta Junction. And in northern Alaska, we're going to stay cold and typical for this time of year with those mostly clear skies across the west coast. A little bit of sunshine still holding on around Kotzebue, but mostly cloudy skies for Unalakleet. We'll continue your forecast here in just a few minutes.
Anchorage is gearing up for the next municipal election, and preparations are already underway to ensure every vote is counted securely and accurately.
From ballot drop boxes to how votes are processed behind the scenes, Lauren Maxwell takes us inside the city's election center for a closer look.
Well, first off, an important date. If you're not registered to vote, Sunday, March 2nd is the deadline to register in order to vote in the April 1st municipal election. Another important date, March 11th. That's when ballots will be going in the mail.
There we go.
And ballot drop boxes, described as nearly indestructible, will go up around town.
We've had cars hit these things, especially last year, multiple times, and there's only been a couple paint scratches on these things.
Elections Administrator William Northrop says drop boxes are the most common way to return a ballot, although people can also vote by mail, email, or even in person closer to the date.
Vote centers open 7 days prior to Election Day.
Absolutely. Once ballots arrive at the election center, they're sorted, processed, and kept under lock and key until the results are counted election night.
Every step of the way through the processing, ballots are locked up and are just not laying out for, any reason.
Northrop says people who have questions about what happens to their vote should come see for themselves.
I would invite any members of the public to just come down to the election center and see what we do.
He says every part of the process is open to the public, including election night. Lauren Maxwell, Alaska's News Source.
You've been listening to the Alaska's News Source podcast. Subscribe to have the latest episodes delivered to your library automatically.